Are starting now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar of KnowEMS project. My name is Itamar. I'm from Israel, from an organization called MDA, Magen David Adom. We are the technical coordinators of this project, and we also will present shortly our part in this in today's webinar. We are happy to have you here with us on behalf of MDA, on behalf of the project. And let me just mention that this project is being recorded, so we will share after the webinar on the different platforms of the project, the recording and the slides, so you can access it also afterwards. I would like now to give the floor to Lisa Meyer from Johanniter from Germany, to the coordinator of the project, to present the project.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to our first webinar of KnowEMS, the knowledge network of workable emergency medical systems. So I will run shortly through the agenda, even if we haven't prepared it. So I'm happy to announce that today we will have a few very interesting speakers for you, starting with presenters from Germany, from Romania, Portugal, and Israel, who will present their organization or the organization of their national EMS. And after that, as this year sadly marks the 20th anniversary of the Madrid bombing, we have taken this as an opportunity to have also colleagues from Spain talking about this topic. And before that, the lessons observed from Paris, from the Paris attacks, will be presented by a colleague from France. I would like to start with a short introduction of the KnowEMS project and then directly hand over to the speakers. The agenda is fully packed, so let's start. First of all, the knowledge network of workable emergency medical systems, in short KnowEMS, is a project which is co-funded by the European Commission. Can you go back to the slide? This one, correct. And the project will last from January this year until the end of December 2025. The consortium is a very diverse one, consisting out of those organizations you can see on the slides. There we have the France Association of Disaster Medicine, then Assistance Publique Hôpital de Paris from France, as well as Ayuntamiento de Madrid from Spain, and then the Instituto Nacional de Emergencia Médica under the Ministry of Health of Portugal. Then on the upper right corner, we have the Johanniter Unfallhilfe, which is an NGO from Germany and the administrative leader of this project. Then we have the Department for Emergency Situations within the Romanian Ministry of Interior. And last but definitely not least, Magen David Adom, an NGO from Israel. Please move to the next slide, Itamar. Thanks. Just a few sentences why we came up with this project idea. KnowEMS is a follow-up project from a further project called KnowFear, which is a short form of network of practitioners for emergency medical systems and critical care. It was to network between professional suppliers and the academia to identify key areas for standardization and foster rapid achievements and practical short-term outcomes, and also to implement a dynamic transactional portal offering for us, a catalog, a marketplace, and flexibility to tackle emerging threats. I will leave it with these few key points. If you're interested in more details, please visit the KnowFear website that you can see here. Next slide, please. Now coming back to KnowEMS, we identified a lack of platforms available which allows EMS providers to exchange their knowledge and lessons observed on national level, which would, for example, have helped some of us to face the challenges that came with the corona pandemic, especially as the status of the pandemic was very different in the various countries at the same time. So we could have learned a lot from each other, but there was no platform existing. So here we are now with KnowEMS providing this platform for you, and we will focus on building up a strong network of EMS operation managers and other relevant stakeholders We will conduct webinars open to the public, such as this one, and also discussion rounds exclusively open for experts in key positions to discuss dedicated questions on EMS topics. We will be present at conferences and fora to bring the voice of the EMS actors to the attention of civil protection and public safety actors, and the lessons observed from these activities will be collected, validated, and of course published. That's why this meeting is recorded, as Itamar already announced. Now I would like to directly hand over to the first speaker, which will be Michelle Thompson from Johanniter Unfallhilfe, who will present the organization of EMS within Germany.
Michelle, just a second before you start, just to let everybody know, everyone know that you cannot speak or open your camera, but you can use the Q&A icon to type in your questions, and we will stop here and there to go through some questions. And yes, so please do that. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm from Johanniter as well. I'm part of the administrative lead of the project of KnowEMS, and I'm an EMT for about 10 years now, all the time at the Johanniter, and I think now I know something about the German EMS, and I'm going to tell you something about it. Next slide, please. So in my short presentation, I'm going to talk about some general information about the EMS, the organization of the EMS in Germany, the vehicles, and the personnel in EMS. Next one. So just some general information and some hard numbers. I want to say, all in all, we have more than 300 independent rescue service areas in Germany. It's all divided into counties, and each service rescue is a known area with their own rules, to be honest. We have about approximately 240 dispatch stations, which means we have more than 85,000 employees in German EMS. We have 4 different training programs in the rescue service sector and different levels of professionalism. And roundabout it's 8 minutes is our standard response time target in city areas, because as soon as you go into urban areas, sometimes it's a little bit longer. And as I already said, it's divided into 2 counties. We have 16 different rescue service laws. Next one. Can you go to the next slide, Itamar? So about the organization of EMS in Germany. We have in Germany a large number of rescue service laws at federal and at state level. We have one big law, and every state is doing his own little thing, kind of. And those laws define the framework for the rescue service and regulate quality standards, as well as the training requirements and deployment planning, among others, and among other things. And especially the training requirements, it makes clear which level of education you have to have on which car. It's all in there, and it's in every state it's different. So at the state level, the rescue service responsibility is the Ministry of the Interior in Germany, and the Rescue Service Act is concretized by a rescue service plan. And the rescue service plan is issued by a committee, which is usually consisting of the Ministry of Interior, the rescue services, organizations, and the cost bearers. And the rescue service plan is designed as a framework plan, and it's concretized at the level of the various rescue service areas through divisional plans. And the ambulance services are billed via the health insurance companies, which means that the patients do not have to pay directly for ambulance service. They only have to pay a little fee, which is about 10 euros in Germany. as health insurance is mandatory, and it's not free, but every employee is insured in Germany. Next one. So I'm going to start with the vehicles. We have different kind of vehicles here in Germany. We have a patient transport vehicle, an ambulance, a physician-staffed emergency vehicle, intensive care ambulances, as well as rescue helicopters or intensive care helicopters, which I got to define now. First of all, going to start with the smallest car. It's the patient transport vehicle, or in Germany we say Krankentransportwagen. It takes care of people who are not in immediate danger of death. So just to be honest, just like been to the doctor, but needs to be taken to a hospital to take care of, but it don't have to be within the next 2 hours. This is the car which is going to take them, but it still requires professional care of the patient during the transport to a suitable medical facility. And it can be either in response to an emergency call or as planned, as I just said, from the doctor to the hospital. Within the car, you have normal barriers. Sometimes you have oxygen in there, and if the doctor put in an IV, it can go on. So on this car, there's already trained personnel. The next step is the ambulance or the Rettungswagen, which you can see in the picture, a little bit bigger, has more space and a lot of more equipment. And those ambulances are for immediate medical care and transport in emergencies. The staff is specially trained personal paramedics, and it is equipped for advanced medical tools for treating wounds, giving medication, and life-saving measures. Along with the normal ambulance, if a physician is needed on site, there's the possibility to call a Notarzt-Einsatzfahrzeug, which carries an emergency doctor and is driven by a paramedic. It's used for advanced medical care at the scenes like life-threatening emergencies or serious injuries. And it is equipped with advanced medical tools for complex interventions, including medication administration, patient intubation, and advanced life-saving measures. And those 3 vehicles are special vehicles. You don't see them all the time. It's rescue helicopters and an intensive care vehicle. We have 2 kinds of helicopters. We have the rescue helicopter, who's provide rapid transport and medical assistance, especially in remote areas. But we also have the intensive care helicopters, which transport critically ill patients via air, but can also be used as a rescue helicopter if there's no doctor available. And then we have the ground-bound vehicle for the intensive care helicopter. We have the intensive care vehicles, which also transport critically ill patients with advanced medical equipment and specialized staff. And for all those cars, you need personnel. So we have 4 kinds of. We have the emergency assistant, which is in Germany the Rettungshelfer, and it's just a basic training with approximately 40 hours of training, and they just learn simple life-sustaining measures. And the training departs in training on the vehicle, partly for 40 hours, and 40 hours in school, learning it all theoretically. Then we have the emergency medical technician, which the training takes approximately 160 hours. Here comes the training on the car, on the vehicle, the training in school, but there's also training in hospitals where you learn all those things you can do on this, or you have to do on the street in a safe area. And the next step is the emergency paramedic, or the Notfallsanitäter in Germany. And it's the highest non-medical or non-doctoral qualification. And it takes a 3-year training program with a lot of hours in hospital, a lot of hours on the car, and a lot of hours at school. And it extends competences, including invasive measures. It depends on in which state you are. but the paramedics are allowed to give medication to the patient. And if the paramedic is not enough on site, you can get emergency doctor or Notarzt, which are doctors with special additional training in the field of emergency medicine, and they carry out extended medical measures at the scene.
One more minute, please. Oh.
That's it. So thank you for your attention. Just a little funny thing. You see the helicopter on the left-hand side. It's from the ADAC, and in Germany we call them yellow angel because they come from the sky. They are yellow and they save us. So that's my last word. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We have one question, so we'll use the spare time here. The question is about the interesting differences between the different regions in terms of law regulation that influence the structure of the EMS.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly, please.
Yes, you have in each region you have your own doctor, which gives out what medication you have to use, or they give out the SOPs. They give it to you, and you have, if you work in that region, you're allowed to do that, and if you work in another region, you're not allowed to do it. But overall law is the overall law is made by the county.
Okay, thank you. And yes, we are happy to move on to Romania and to our colleague Elena.
Hello.
That will present the Department of Emergency Situation. Please, Elena.
Hello, my name is Elena Dumitru. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I'm working also in the Department for Emergency Situation. So I will start and present you a little bit about our department, which is part of the KnowEMS project. As you can see, Department for Emergency Situation is the part of Ministry of Internal Affairs, of Minister of Interior, however you want to say. I don't know if you can switch the slides. As you can see here, it's an operational structure without the legal personality of internal affair, with the task of coordinating on a permanent basis at national level the activities of prevention and management of emergency situation, ensuring and coordinating human, material, financial, and other resources necessary to restore the state of normality, including qualified first aid and emergency medical assistance within the emergency reception units and compartments. We are calling them CPU and UPU. As you can see in this slide, this is the main components of our Department for Emergency Situation, and the department that are coordinated by our department. You can see here in the right that General Directorate for Civil Protection is under the head of Department for Emergency Situation, Directorate for Decisional Support, the Cabinet Office, and the General Directorate for Medical Emergency. These are the one which are directed, coordinated for the emergency situation. The head of the department is Dr. Raed Arafat. And after that, you can see that some of them are operational coordination and some of them are coordination, just coordination. The General Inspector for Emergency Situation, the General Inspector for Aviation, the SAMUR, which means the Service for Medical or Emergencies for Resuscitation and Discarceration. It's something like that, it's abbreviation in Romanian, SAMUR. Also, we have public authorities, the hospitals, and the medical emergency, which are like emergency department and the ambulance. And also the public authorities are compounded for mountain rescue and cave rescue. As you can see in the next slide, these are the main inspectorate that are in the coordination. And one of them, which is my department, General Directorate for Medical Emergency Management, which is subordination. Next slide. The Department for Department for Emergency Situation operationally coordinates the country ambulances, as I already told you. respectively the Bucharest municipality emergency departments, as well as the mountain rescue. It's very important to tell you that our department provides a technical secretariat for the Interministerial Commission for Technical Support. This interministerial commission is organized and functions as an ministerial liaison between the Minister of Interior and the Minister of Health for the purpose of coordinating activities relating to the organization, operation and financing of the national system of emergency medical assistance and qualified first aid, as well as the professional services for emergency situation. In the next slide, I will tell you that our department is an entity that that started under the law of 557, which clearly establishes the role of each institution involved in the emergency situation. Among the tasks of our department, we have the warning of the population, the evacuation, management of shelters, management of blackouts measures, rescue, medical services. So here is included also the first aid and the religious assistance in important firefighting, marketing of danger areas, decontamination and similar protective measures, provision of emergency accommodation and supplies, emergency assistance of restoration and maintenance of order in distressed areas, emergency repair and of indispensable public utilities, emergency disposal of deaths, assistance in the preservation of objects essential for survival, complementary activities necessary to carry out of the task mentioned above, including but not limited to planning and organization. Here in the next slide, you can see the National Command Center for Coordination of Intervention. Here is one of the most important structure, which is part of the National Integrated Command Center of Ministry of Internal Affairs. Here the center is working 24 hours per 7, where professionals from Department from Emergency Situation, General Inspectorate, and the Operative Center for Emergency Situation from Ministry of Health work. We are gathering here. As you can see, it's a mobile one. If there's some catastrophic event that is happening, this center, which was recently acquired, will go and will make coordination from the focal point or near the focal point. As you can see, it has individuality for the energy. Here it's providing internet from which is independent from the general area. You can see it connected to the satellite. We have phone here, also Tetra station, which if there is no power, but we have a generator. So it's we are having the generator, and it's not so. It's a little chance that we remain without power in this center. The next slide, here you can see our pre-hospital resources that are coordinated from the Municipal Integrated Emergency Center. It's a dispatch. Here we have a meeting room where the head of the department can meet the main participant in this center. And the dispatch, at this national level, we have 2 integrated dispatch centers. One is in Bucharest and coordinates the helicopters from the south, southwest, and southeast. Also the ambulance, the local ambulances. The dispatch of Mureș is the other one, which coordinates the helicopters from the center and northwest half, practically is the half of the country, from one dispatch and the other one with the Bucharest. We have in total 37 dispatches with firefighter and with SAMUR and the ambulance. SAMUR, I told you, it's our emergency medical service, which has emergency medicine doctor, and also it's like intensive care unit. you can go and have or everything you need from an emergency room here in this special ambulance. It is important to mention that since 2018, the fire brigade and the medical services are in the same dispatch all over the country, because in case of emergency, it is easier to communicate with each other, and we can ask for resources from one to another, and we can send if there's they have received the call and they are sending some ambulances, and they see that there is much more than what in the first call was saying. We can help each other. Okay, next slide, please. Here is a picture from our dispatch, from the Bucharest dispatch. You can see we have in the left one with green and red. You can see here our resources. They are first aid with paramedics, and also here we can still have 6 intensive care units, which are in all with emergency medical doctor. Also here are the main the 6 helicopters that are coordinated by these centers. You can see here in the also in this slide we have a map where we can localize all the cases on which we are receiving. We have here the main directory where we have all the cases. Here you can open one and you can find more about the one who called, the number, some specific data from why they are why they can't help. And in the right one, where you can see a lot of red there, you can see that here is the service of the ambulance, which is we are in the same room. As you can see, they are the main monitors in the same photo. The next one, please.
Yeah, but 1 more minute, please. Okay.
I will try to.
Yes.
Okay, I will speak fast. The resources for intervention are first engine equipped with first aid kits. First aid, we have motorcycles. We have first aid type B ambulances, which can be with paramedics or nurse. The ambulance type C is there are 2 types. C2 with the ambulance with a doctor, which has competence in pre-hospital emergencies, and the C1 is the mobile intensive care unit that I already told you, which has an emergency medicine or an anesthesia and intensive care doctor. Also, this ambulance is prepared to give help to the newborns, to geriatric patients. Also, we have an emergency doctor vehicle, which is an EMD doctor that moves in support of the first aid crew that require this, but also in the type of emergency need for the coordination. The next slide, please. Here we put some, the next one, okay. Here are some ambulances. This is the one for the babies, for the newborn. You can see we have an incubator here, ventilator. It's equipped with everything that we need. The next slide, please. The next one is the mobile hospital and ambulances, which we have. There, in the right side, there are the ambulances that we just buy recently in December. You can see here there are a lot of one. We are trying to have the new ones and better ones, so our crew can make a good job in the field. The next slide, and here in the left, it's a mobile hospital. In case of a calamity, we can make a fast hospital for 3 days. We are having it in 1 hour. We are having mobile hospital. The next slide, please. We have the resources for intervention, air rescue, which is represented by patient transport helicopters, medical planes. We have multiple victims ambulances, which can have for intensive care patients, multiple victim cars and equipped with required for incident and mass casualties. The mobile command center. We have Be Prepared trucks, which we use for education of the population. We have also special vehicle for hyperbaric oxygen treatment chambers. Also, we have a mobile morgue in case which was the pandemic one. We have this mobile morgue which help us when the number of deaths was really high. Also, we have mobile paramedics training centers, mobile intensive care units, which were used during the pandemic. There was 12 beds with all the necessary equipment for the intensive care unit. And also the emergency rooms, which are similar to EMDs, the units resuscitation room, major emergency, minor emergency, pediatric emergency. The next slide, please. I think I have, if you give me another minute, I will finish fast. Here is the air rescue, the General Inspectorate for Aviation, which is represented by patient transport helicopters, medical ones. We can see here the newly one, which they are Black Hawk. Now we are Red Hawk because we changed the color, because the red and yellow is our representative color for emergency. We also have in the next slide lots of discarceration and mobile hospitals, which I put some photo here. This is from our National Day parade, so that's why there are so many here. Next one, I want to talk a little bit about telemedicine, which started in November 2011 here in Romania. It started in the small hospitals where when they have certain problems and need some specialties, they were making video. They are still making video streaming from the resuscitation room. In the pre-hospital, we have also video streaming from the scene of the accident to the dispatch will become possible. Over 100 ambulances were equipped with this system nationwide. And also in the dispatch, we have real-time data from the field. As you can see, we receive EKG with respiratory rate, with ventricular and also with the blood pressure, and also with the saturation of the patient. Here you can see we have you cannot see because it's a little image, but here you can, if it's a big one, if I make it big, you can see there is an inferior myocardial infarction. So we can redirect the patient directly to the hospital, which can make a coronarography and make thrombolysis for the patient if there is the necessary thing. Also here, if you take the next slide, we have
medical. We really need to move on. Yes.
It's the last one, I promise. Medical education, we are trying to use ultrasound simulation. We have a simulator to revive. We have training for the first responders. And also some in the center of Târgu Mureș, we have virtual reality training for students and also for residents, which is simulating a real situation. Here in the last slide, we have the cooperation with NATO and the transfer of the patients using the NATO planes. Also, we have a cooperation with the Ministry of Defense, and we transfer the patient using the Spartan and the Hercules airplane. And in the last one, we are trying to go on also on the water. We have some navy, which are near the Black Sea, where we have acquired 2 of them. And the last slide, it's our system, which you can move to the last one. Here we are a mosaic, or how to say, we are a lot of people which are making the Department for Emergency Situation, as you can see, from doctors to paramedic, ambulances, nurse, until the firefighters. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I tried to speak too much.
That's okay.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. And now let's move on to Portugal. João, please.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello. Well, first of all, it's really a challenge for us being on a project like this one. I think more than just being together, just more sharing our knowledge. It's about sharing people, and it's about what we all can earn with this, and what all our countries can do with that knowledge. So let's look at Portugal. and what we do in INEM in Portugal. Well, first of all, INEM starts in 1981. It is an old organization, but it starts with a need to respond to road traffic accidents, and then we grow up. We grow up, and now we are part of the Ministry of Health, and they are coordinating all the medical emergency system in Portugal. Go. Next one, Itamar. Our skills are indeed medical emergency coordination, pre-hospital, medical emergency training, critical care transport, and special jet units. Let's talk about it on forward. So let's do the next slide. In Portugal, we are handling all the 112 calls. There's a European emergency number, but we do it all together with the law officers like police and National Guard, as well with firefighters and Red Cross. So we are a big team handling all that emergency calls. Next. Okay, so how we do it? Our CODU, it's the name we give it, our coordination centers for emergencies are 4. They stand on the north, on the center, and then on the south and Algarve. They are one single queue line for answering all the calls. So this is a more fast service. We have a redundancy system, and it's a lot of better distribution of workloads for all over the country. Next one. What we'll do on CODU, it's quite simple. We handle all the medical triage on the mainland, as well dispatching all the adequate emergency units, and as well as monitoring and supporting all the teams on the ground, getting together with all the hospitals where they are going to with the casualties. So we also have, not also CODU, next one, Itamar. That's also, we work on a new technology. So we are now handling a new software that be able to connect all the resources with the hospitals. Sometimes we have like several softwares. I think maybe it happens in other countries as well. And then the softwares do not speak with each other. So we have now a huge challenge at becoming with the IT software that is gathering all in one single strategy to handle all the data from the emergency calls. Next. Well, but Portugal is not about land. In fact, Portugal territory is 97% water and 3% land. So we also have a service just for the sea that is handling just not only the calls from our sea, but all over the world from our ships, because they are also Portuguese territory. Next. We also have a center just for a National Poisons Information Center. So he just handling all the diagnosis for toxicity, therapies, and prognosis, just only for citizens, but also for hospitals, healthcare units, or even for colleges and universities as well. And it handles not just for people, but also for animals. We also have a big team. And this is not about the logistic resources, but also about the human resources. So we have technicians, logistic, medics, physiotics, and psychologists, and nursing team. This is a huge team, in fact, for all the country. Next. About logistic resources, our vehicles, well, we start for the single one. It is motorcycles. We have 8 motorcycles that are operating just in urban areas. And just on the time that we have more critical, more movement on the roads. So we have a quick stabilization with these EMT drivers that has a quick arrival on the scene, and it's his job just for handling and the first level of response. And then next one, we start off several, as Romania and Germany already said, we have several kind of ambulances. The more we have, it's like basic level for all over the country, and it's operated by firefighters and Red Cross members. And then next one, it will be just not only in the firefighters, but for our own people from INEM. They are more than EMT. They have medical protocols on the ambulances. And if it is an ambulance with a nursing, it's the next one. We also have capacity to do more than just protocols. We have nursing and EMTs on scene. Next one. And then we got the medic and nursing level. This is the advanced life support for children, newborns, and premature. So this response, it's only for this kind. We only have 4 of them. It's enough for all the country. And he has as an object stabilization and transport to appropriate hospitals to the right treatment as well. So the next one will be as well the medic and nursing team, and it goes with a car. We used to call it the fast response car. Indeed, it is mean about fast. It is resuscitation car, but in Portugal we know it as the VMER. We have 44 all over the country, and it brings a medic and a nurse on scene, and it performs advanced life support as well. And the next one with the helicopters. So beside the car, we also have an helicopter. Indeed, for instance, if you have no sky, no good conditions for flights, the same team can bring up to the scene with the car. So there are 4 more and 44 and plus more for units for advanced life support. But it is not this. We also have psychological emergency interventions unit. This is a very huge project we have since 2004, and it answers not only the calls from 112, but also our professionals when in special situations they need. So it isn't just about the patient or casualty itself, but also our professionals. Next. Okay, special intervention scenarios. We have several ones, as every country indeed. So I think it's about sharing what the best we can do. So we answer for all, as every country do it, as major incidents, mass casualty incidents, natural technological incidents, and everything else. How we do it? Okay, so we have several teams, several special teams. Next. And we do it with special intervention team that's handle when we're calling about safety and security, planning and operational, just not for VIP people, but there is a team just for that as well. You can see on the photo our dear Pope, but also in mass gathering events, when they are planning events, when we really can plan it. We just have now the huge events with the Pope last year. So not just for this kind of situations, but also next, Itamar. These special highly trained teams, they train with the security forces, so they act together. In fact, this is a very and a huge, highly trained team that works only with police officer, police forces, and all security forces, getting like almost in a war zone scenarios for handle it together, not just as a single team. And we also have some special intervention units like this one for emergency medical team type 1, a mobile type response with personal protective equipment and all the emergency communications. It's completely autonomy, this unit, and it's a first response for catastrophe and big accidents. And then next one. We also have, I am already finishing, we also have our dear emergency before. That's one, not this one. Yeah, our dear emergency medical team. It's a type 1 fixed. It's a PTNT response level at the World Health Organization and the NATO team. It has a fully autonomy capacity of response with a multidisciplinary team for major trauma stabilization and medical advanced life support or medical trim. It has a completely autonomy in every kind of situations. And last one. Well, about international missions, we also get a huge response at the multidisciplinary teams with always government support, handling humanitarian missions. So this is INEM in Portugal.
Thank you very
I think
much.
it was in time, right, Itamar?
It was great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great. Good. So now we move on to Israel, to MDA, Magen David Adom. Now you don't have to hear the next all the time because it's me here. So Magen David Adom, MDA, is the national EMS in Israel. So when we talk about the emergency medical system in Israel and MDA, it's basically the same thing. MDA operates all over the country, more than 1,100 emergency vehicles. We have the basic life support ambulances like this one here in the picture. We have the advanced units, and we have some other special vehicles like motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles to helicopters, and different resources to reach out to any patient or casualty all over the country. In MDA, we have paramedics and EMTs that operates the ambulances. In the basic units like this one here, we will have an EMT with his or her team, and in the advanced units, we will have the paramedic team leader with their team on board. Yes, and here are some of the resources that we have. We also have like rapid response vehicles, like this Chevrolet in the left, to the left that you can see in the picture. And one of the things that we are very proud of in MDA is our command and control system that was developed in-house by MDA, I mean by our IT department, but within MDA. And this is a very smart, sophisticated system that help the call takers and the operations center officers to make the right decisions rapidly and with the support of the system. So things that we can do with this system is the geolocation of the calls, the incoming calls. We can see where the caller is. We can receive live video from the scene, receive or have the communication done via WhatsApp, and actually answer to a very large volume of emergency calls in the dispatches. Our operation centers are actually within the standard of the next generation 911 or next generation 112 dispatches. So these are really high-tech centers. The dispatchers can and are sending units, as you can see to the right of the picture, head to the right side of the picture. We have the motorcycles and all other vehicles or resources that can be deployed to the incidents or the patients. And this system also, like it's written here below, is connected to other emergency services like the fire department and the police in Israel. So some of the information is being shared. Actually, some of the components of the system are implemented in other organizations. So we have some real-time sharing of information, and we can also supervise our own call takers during the shift as they work. The system has also some AI components and machine learning. So, for example, the AI is a component is a feature that allows or that types down the call during while it takes place. The call is being written in front of the call taker. So if he or she didn't hear well, or if the speaker has an accent, or he or she are very stressed, then we can have this typed record protocol of the call in front of us. So this is something that is being used and supports us a lot. And like Joao said, the human resource is an important resource for us as well. In MDA, we have many youth volunteers from the age of 15. They can come, join, and volunteer also on the ambulances. And MDA is very proud to be a boots on the ground organization. We try and succeed to reach out to many audiences, many groups in the community in all over the country. And you can see here in the pictures some examples of ultra-Orthodox Jewish people with Arab people together on the same shift and working together and respecting each other. And it's actually also very beneficial, not only for the atmosphere of the shift and of the station, but also for the response. We are better accepted this way by our clients, so to say. Yes. And just some numbers. So in MDA, we annually receive 3.4 million incoming calls per year. Of course, it changes during the year when we had COVID or during some other incidents. Then we'll see the peaks of the incoming calls. 1.3 million emergency dispatches per year. And our training and education department works very hard with 350,000 trainees per year. We also are the national blood bank or blood services organization in Israel. So MDA also collects, process, store, and deliver blood to the hospitals, some 1,000 units per day. As you can see, 32,000 volunteers. A few other projects that also help us again to reach out to the public. The life guardians are nurses or physicians or paramedics that are not staff of MDA, but were trained by MDA and are being activated by MDA using a designated app on their mobile when they are close to a very certain emergency. So they are not volunteers on the ambulances, but they are part of our response system. I think, yes, that's it. That's about us. Thank you. Oh. Okay. And Matteo, are you here? Or Catherine?
Okay.
Yes,
Matthew is still on his bicycle somewhere in Paris.
Okay.
So he is listening to us, and he will correct me if needed. So next, please. Next, Itamar. Okay, so this picture just to show you what happened in New York. It was, of course, an unexpected event. And next. And we had also some unexpected events in France. And I will focus on the key points and the way we train our teams, actually, because priority is given to the police mission over the rescue mission. And we try, of course, to take care of victims, but we have to extract them from the danger zone to the safe zone. And for this, we have to be very precisely coordinated with police and the rescue services. And in France, we have sophisticated doctors, anesthesiologists. They work inside the hospital, and they also work inside the police teams. And that is great for us because, they can, at a glance, do a triage of victims, and they can organize the flow of injured people and require adapt and requiring adapt care. And of course, after that, the victims are taken in charge by the rescue teams and to the final care. And as you know, in France, we have dispatch center, one per department. And we have also some medical teams at the scene. Next. So this picture is showing you that we have to be coordinated because between the safety procedures, the command post, and the final care. And I will show you some special teams working at the site. And about the injured people, it can be also hostages, it can be casualties, it can be blast injuries, everything. Next. In fact, we always have to adapt our rescue response, meaning, no, come back. Meaning that, come back. Yeah, stay on this slide, you know.
It shifts automatically, so sorry.
Sorry.
I can.
So what I wanted to tell you is that it depends of the bad people. If they want to kill people, or if you know the situation is not so bad. So sometimes we can take care of victims at the scene, and we have time to stay and play, as we say. And sometimes we just have to hurry up and to extract victims as soon as possible, and to have sophisticated care after this. And that's the casualty flow. You can see some special forces, police ones, and always, you know, it's time dependent, and time is working against us. So we have to be very clever with the organization. Next. Next, Itamar. Okay, so I told you we have to train our teams this way, and we have to give them some rescue principles facing the threat. And it is a doctrine of mass killing, meaning that we have a dual objective, safety and rescue, but always safety primes over rescue. And also we know, and in Madrid also, we must be aware of multi-site attacks. Next. So that's the way it works. Of course, there is analyzing, the first step is analyzing the threat. And after it is, are we able to access to victims? And are we able to escape from this threat and to extract victims? And of course, at the beginning, it's only fast, basic life-saving care which is done. And as I told you, the clock is there. So we have to reduce time to definite care, and we have to be rapid and fast at each step. Next. Next, Itamar. Yes. Next. Okay. So here you have a picture, for example, of the Bataclan. And below you have a picture on it was hostages at Vincennes site, okay? And you can see how different colors and with different areas. And we will speak of these areas after, okay? It's a dynamic zoning. Next. So you have the red zone. Of course, the threat is there. You have an orange zone and you have the green zone. Green zone is peaceful. The first step is to suppress threat. Of course, if we have some emergency gesture, it will be only hemorrhage control, because we have to extract victim to a safety zone. And we have after to assess care to assess victims, sorry, and to give some more care if need is. And after this, we have to transport victims to the hospitals. And it is a dynamic zonage. And I will explain this later. If you give me the next slide, please. Sorry, it's in French. It's just to tell you that, you know, okay, so you see the red zone, at the beginning, you know, the red zone is nobody is allowed to go there except the medical team working inside the police and working with the special forces, as I told you. And of course, does it move? No, it does not. Okay, it's supposed to move. Ah, okay. Okay, so after a while, you know, the red zone is taken in charge by the police, and the victims are targeted by the medical doctors, and a first triage is made, and it is very rapid, and they have some paths to extract victims. And you see, and of course, it means that there is a very precise coordination between police and rescue services. And after you see that the orange zone is growing and the red zone is decreasing a little bit, you know. And that is the way it works. And it means that it is always evolving, an evolving situation. And it is always, you know, a dynamic zonage. And after, of course, for medical teams, we were only in the green zone. And the fire brigade is helping policemen to extract victims to a safety point. Okay. Next. Oh, no, pass. Okay. So it means that, no, sorry. So you saw the triage with different colors, you know. And what we learned from our colleagues, you know, is that when they entered the Bataclan, of course, it was really a disaster. And they call people, can you get up and can you come to us? And they were a little bit surprised because nobody moved, you know. This does not mean that they could not walk. It means that, you know, there was such a psychological effect on them that they were just like stone and they could not move at all. But that is, of course, the first triage that it can be done in this situation. And after that, you know, the colors, you know, they are colors that we all use, and the same thing with the NATO rules. Next. Next. So, of course, and prior to the Olympic Games, we had a lot of training, a lot of exercises, and we share experience with now, you know, we have medical teams, we have the fire brigade, and we have police teams, and we all work together. And it can be tabletop exercises. And we also went on this picture, you can see we also went to Ukraine, and it's always nice to share experience with people, especially if people have real threats. Next. So another picture of the zonage. Next. So no, stay. Oh, okay. Wait. So the key messages. We have to extract rapidly victims from the hot zone. And what our colleagues did in the Bataclan, they could do this before the final assault. It means about half an hour before the final assault. Of course, they were allowed to do this by their colleagues from the police. So it's what we call a rapid tactical medical triage. At this step, only damage control can be done. And we must be aware of the psychological shock and we also had some lessons and observation about, for example, the stretchers. You know, we we did not have, they did not have the stretchers needed in such a situation, because a lot of victims were very badly injured. Okay, next. So to summarize, and it was especially lessons learned from Bataclan, it's difficult to communicate during such an intervention. So of course, the teams are very well trained and they know each other, and they are confident with what they do. Of course, the medical equipment must be adjusted to the needs, and the medical care also. And it's not a triage like we are used to do it. You know, it's triage made by experienced doctors, emergency ones, and anesthesiologist ones, and at a glance, you know, they can see if the victims are poorly injured or not, and what to do, and how the problem is that to extract them very rapidly. And of course, all this need a coordination between police, between the rescue services, and just you remember when I am used to explain what is disaster medicine in France, we always say that we learned a lot from military people, but we cannot always apply military rules and concepts to civilians crises also. Next. Donc, I would like
Catherine,
to,
just
Matthew, are you here? Because
no, we need to move on. So if you can just
okay, I'll just it's exactly what I told you. You know, the same key messages.
Catherine, you are muted. Catherine.
Sorry, I could not speak because you could not listen to me. Okay. So it's a summary of key messages I've already told you about. Okay, so next. Next, only a few slides. Okay, it's a conclusion. You know, first of all, okay. First of all, it's the goal is to neutralize the threat. After this, a coordination between the different teams, access to the victim, extract them as soon as possible. And this picture is only to tell you that now we focus on the primo and witnesses and people witnesses the situation, and we try to give them some advices to behave the right way. Next. So that a lot of books written on this topic. Next. And just tell you that we are organizing a seminar in France end of May to train a lot of people and to really construct a chain from the beginning, you know, from the first witnesses of such an event, because of course, even if a medical team get to the scene rapidly, and the police and special forces, you know, there is always the first minutes that are crucial for the prognostic of victims and of the situation. That's it. If you have questions, I think Mathieu is there and he can answer.
I'll check if we have any new. The question here is, will there be observers? But I think I'm not sure what is the meaning of the question. And in sake of time, I think we will need to move on to the Madrid presentation now. So, Catherine, thank you very much.
Okay.
And Matteo as well for your bike driving. So now we have Paloma, not Daniel, Paloma Rey, that will explain about the Madrid train bombings now that it's 20 years to this horrific terror incident took place in Madrid. Paloma. Paloma. We're trying to bring Paloma here.
Probably she's not able to speak as she's registered as an audience and not as a presenter.
She's the second Itamar. It's Paloma.
Okay.
Please bear with us. We try to fix that. We have minor technical issues, so Paloma is trying to connect again. Sorry, so she can't unmute herself. So please, 1 more minute. Sorry about it. Just 1 second. Paloma, can you speak now? Paloma?
Yes.
Just speak to the mobile.
Yes,
Okay, speak to the mobile. And Michelle, can you indicate if you hear Paloma well? Paloma, can you start the presentation?
Okay. SAMUR Protección Civil is. SAMUR Protección Civil is a public pre-hospital emergency medical service dependent of the City Council of Madrid. And as a public institution, we have the responsibility to provide emergency medical and psychological streets and public areas in the city of Madrid. to deal with the coordination and medical attention of mass casualty incidents and situation of public calamity or disaster, to make the risk assessment of events, medical and civil protection coverage in the situation of mass gathering events, and the last one, the management and organization of the voluntary citizen participation in the field of civil protection in emergency and disaster situation. And the last but not least is the training for professional and citizens. So because we have short of time, I will start with the train bombings summary of our activity in that day. Next one, Itamar, please. Okay, in the last decades, terrorism has been an issue in Europe. It's posed a threat to the security and freedom of the citizens, so that emergency response strategies are of critical importance to deal with this kind of attacks. It has been 2 decades of Madrid train bombings this year. Next one, Itamar. The main objective of this presentation is to share with all of you a summary of the emergency response to the train bombings.
Itamar, it is very quiet. It's very hard to understand,
Madrid.
Paloma.
Our best practices and the lessons learned, and how our response have improved since then. Next one. So you can see the objectives of the presentation, our experience, how the event was managed, a self-critical analysis, what could have improved at that time, and the most critical change in MCI preparedness. The next one. Okay, this is SAMUR Protección Civil at that time in 2004. Has 550 paid staff and 3,300 volunteers, and we had coordination protocols with police and fire department since 1994, and our first MCI protocol was developed in 1992. Next one. So let me make a short background. Spain has a long history of deliberate attacks related to internal political violence. We can talk about almost 2,500 attacks in the last 40 years. And in 40 exploded in the last 30 years. Target victims of these attacks, commanders, the modus operandi was used to limit attacks in a limited area, usually with prior notice to the media, and targeted to an only person or a small.
Paloma is already really quiet. You can't understand her properly.
Wait 1 second. Paloma, wait a second. The audio. Okay. Can you speak now, Paloma?
Okay. Let me check. Are you hear me now?
Okay, sounds better, yes.
You hear me now on the computer?
No, yes, it's for my computer, but yeah, just you can speak, Paloma. I think they hear you now.
On the phone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So next slide, please, Itamar.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. By that time, in 2004, during the 90s, our MCI protocol had been tested in small-scale real events and drills for training, but always with a number of victims lower than 50. And we had human and material resources to respond to 2 incidents at once. There were many areas of improvement that we worked on, like specific coordination procedures with police and the fire department. In case of mass casualty incidents, radio and cell phone communication were weaker than they are today. We had a lack of training in MCI and CRBN preparedness, and disaster triage ways were unclear to us. Another important area of improvement at that time was the management of the post-disaster in terms of provide psychosocial support to people involved in traumatic events. Next one, please. But the morning of March 11, 2004, everything changed because took place the worst ever deliberate attack in Spain or in many European countries in peacetime. This was the big picture. 14 bombs were placed in 4 different commuter trains. 10 of them exploded and 4 were found and deactivated before the explosion. A total of 191 people were killed and over 1,800 were injured. Next, please. So this is the timeline of the explosions. The bomb exploded in a short time period, a few minutes apart, during the morning rush hour on a working day, so that we had to respond to 4 disaster areas at once. Next, please. So this is a picture of the stations. 3 trains left from Alcalá de Henares, which is a town 25 kilometers away from Madrid. And the trains were from Alcalá de Henares to Atocha. And the other train came from Guadalajara, which is another city in Spain. So the police found in Alcalá de Henares a van with 7 detonators with an audio tape with Quran verses. Next one, please. So, how was the activation this day? The initial communication of the bombings came from Atocha Station Security Services. At that time, SAMUR has his own emergency radio network installed in the main transportation services in the city. So that made the communication easier. Next one, please. Okay, the initial decisions taken by SAMUR after the first explosion was to divide the operative staff into 3 groups. The first one was sent to the first disaster area. The second one was put on alert at a nearby area, and the last one remained operative to respond to the daily emergency that might arise in the city. A phone tree to the off-duty personnel was organized at SAMUR headquarters for immediate response to all of off-duty personnel. Within 13 minutes, 400 ambulance staff had been called in. And during the next half an hour, a further 500 paid staff and volunteers came to disaster. A supervisor was sent to each disaster area to take command of the incident. Next, please. Sure. This was the first explosion in Atocha train station. The train at Atocha station had bombs placed in carriages 3, 4, and 6. They exploded at 7:39 after the train had arrived at the platform and the doors had been opened. Next, please. The explosion immediately killed 29 people and injured 115. The effect of the blast wave was to an extent reduced because the doors were opened when the bomb was exploded. So this fact affected the casualty situation. There were more injuries here, but fewer deaths in comparison with other incident site. Next, please. Victims were grouped away from the scene for first medical care. Next. Because the first bombs exploded in Atocha, it was the site where most of the resources were sent. 156 medical first responders worked on scene. That was a fair number to assist the casualties at that point. An advanced medical post was set up away from the site of the explosion to start stabilization technique on the injured people. Next. Many victims with minor injuries did not have medical assistance and were taken to the hospital by taxi drivers, bus drivers, and particular people. Next one. So this is the summary of the intervention in Atocha. 115 injured received medical assistance, 15 were critically injured, 30 seriously injured, and 70 mild injured. We did 102 ambulance transport, and as I said before, police, taxi driver, and bystanders also take people to the hospital. The evacuation of this site was completed in 1 hour 45 minutes. Next, please. Santa Eugenia was the second explosion, the second station. Next, please. In Santa Eugenia station, a bomb exploded in carriage 4 when the train arrived at the platform before the doors opening. Next. 17 people were killed and 52 injured. And a second advanced medical post was set out outside the station. Next, please, Itamar. Okay, in this place, it was 30 SAMUR staff work on the scene, and advanced medical post was also set outside the station. Next, please. The stabilization measure was proper at this site, and there was an adequate coordination with the firefighters and police. Next. So this is the summary of this point. 52 injured people received medical assistance, 4 was critically injured, 16 seriously, and 32 mild injured. And we did 52 ambulance transport, and the evacuation of this area was completed in 1 hour 15 minutes. So in this station, it was an incident because the railway company did not stop the long distance service. So a long-distance train crossed at high speed the station while EMS personnel were assisting injured people. The railway company apologized for this incident, but it was a very serious incident this day. Next, please. El Pozo station. This was the station in which the bombs exploded. Next, please. In this station, 2 bombs exploded inside a double-decker train in carriages 4 and 5 after the train had arrived at the station and before the doors have been opened. Next, please. This was a very, the train doors were closed and locked, and it was a very unstable site because the police found 2 unexploded bombs while the medical responders were assisted people. This was the worst scenario of the attack. 67 people was killed and 56 injured. Next, please. As I said before, it was the third explosion. The ambulance response was slow. The rescue work was complicated because 2 unexploded bombs and other suspicious objects were found, which led to the work being broken off 3 times, and the site evacuated by order of the police. Rescue tasks were also hampered by a wall between the road and the railway area, which led to several complicated rescue operations. There was few survivors inside the train in this time, in this site. Next one. At this site, also 2 unexploded devices were found. As I said before, and a cell phone was set up as a trigger for the bomb for 12 hours later. Next, please. We faced this incident with reduced material resources. It was necessary to improvise structures with park benches and other objects. No advanced medical post was set up at this site. Less stabilization measure was done, and in many cases, transportation to hospital was done by taxi and police or police car, and many seriously injured patients were transferred to the hospital in basic life support units. Next, please. Okay, we did here 46 ambulance transport, sometimes in an appropriate one, and the evacuation was completed in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Next, please. And this is the last disaster area and this was the paradigm of the catastrophe. You will see why. Next one. In this train, 2 bombs had been placed in carriages 1 and 6, and 2 bombs in carriage 5. The train was a few minutes delayed. Otherwise, the bomb would have exploded also inside the station. I have to tell you that Tellet is not a station, it's a street in Madrid. And the bombs were supposed to explode inside the station, but due to the delay of the train, that was exploded in this street. Next, Itamar. It was the bloodiest scene of the attack because the bomb exploded. Next, please, Itamar. Because the bomb exploded when the train was in motion and the doors were locked. And the blast wave effect was huge. Many of the 65 people killed were thrown out of the train by the explosions. Next, please. There were a few medical staff for such a number of injured and insufficient, not enough ambulance to evacuate them. The rescue was very laborious, and the arrivals of resources to Tejet was somewhat delayed because initially we was under the impression that this location and the Atocha station incident sites were the same. Next, please. Here, an advanced medical post was improvised in a nearby sports hall. A great number of bystander physicians and nurses came in to help, and medical evacuation was delayed due to the lack of available ambulances. Next, please. 165 injured people received medical assistance somehow. 25 were critically injured, 30 seriously, and 110 mild. 165 transports were done by ambulance, police, and bystanders. And the evacuation was complete in 2 hours and 25 minutes. Next, please. So this is the total number of casualties managed by SAMUR. Other emergency services came also to the explosion, but this was managed by SAMUR. 50 critical patients, 96 severe moderate, and 242 mild minor injuries. Next, please. Okay, we think we had a good response capacity, taking in account our resources at that time. In 90 minutes, we passed from 70 people on duty to 400. Next one. And regarding next one, Itamar. And regarding vehicles, in 60 minutes, we passed from 27 vehicles on duty to 107 vehicles. Okay, in the immediate aftermath of the disaster, municipal and regional authorities of Madrid appointed SAMUR to organize an infrastructure aimed to provide psychosocial support to the injured, the victims' relatives, the helpers, witnesses, first responders, etc. This infrastructure was set up in a big convention center in Madrid, and in this center also was organized a forensics center to carry out autopsies, a temporary morgue, coordination officers, etc. A team of psychologists from SAMUR, Red Cross, and official college of psychologists in Madrid provide support to victims' relatives in the process of identification of human remains, personal belongings, and in the process of communication of bad news, etc. Of course, psychological support was also provided to the first responders involved in the event. So now, next slide, Itamar. What were our weak points? The activation of personnel must be improved. So group messages. At this time, the activation was done on the telephone, one by one, via the administrative personnel. Now we have a system with massive SMS messages. It's important to have an overview of the whole event and not deal with it as four separate incidents. The coordination between the incident site commanders was not good enough. Communication problems caused by the collapse of both the fixed and mobile phone systems resulted in lack of information. The communication with hospitals could have been better because there was no direct contact with hospital management. However, the reports coming in show that the hospitals always had the capacity to receive more casualties. And even though a cooperation between SAMUR, police and firefighter was excellent, there was not a specific coordination protocol directed to MCI. I mean, coordination was based more on personal initiative than in an organizational structure. At that time, we were not prepared to respond to an attack with CRVN agents. In the March 11th attack, there were not CRVN agent involved, but after that, we think of it. We thought of it. Sometimes, another weak point was that sometimes first responders kept on working in an unstable scene next to an exploded bomb. Another mistake was that the advanced medical support in Atocha was set up within inside the risk zone for possible further explosions. Next one, Itamar. So our best practices could be summarized in a well-established chain of command due to hierarchical organization of SAMUR, a good relation capacity of SAMUR in terms of human resources and emergency vehicles available in a short period of time, good coordination between political leaders and SAMUR commanders, quick rescue of the victims, an adequate management of critical injury in 3 out of 4 sites, extraordinary collaboration between EMS, police, fire department, despite there was not a specific coordination protocol. Exercise for training in MCI shown to be useful, and we had a good post-disaster management. Next, please. And what were our lessons learned observed? Regarding communication, a radio network with digital technology is adequate for the management of the incident. Independent communication channel for managerial staff at different sites is essential in order to be coordinated. Regarding leadership, the top operative responsible of SAMUR should not be involved in the on-site rescue and medical care. It was a mistake that the incident commander, that was at the time the deputy director of SAMUR, did so when they should have took a step back and organized the event with a global perspective. The managerial staff on the scene should be easily identified. We were not at this time. Political leaders should be near the scene, acting as facilitator of the operational work and acting as a link between first responder and political authorities. And regarding the resources for MCI management, it is necessary more investment in infrastructure to deal with MCI, personal protective equipment, anti-fragment vest, helmet, good proof gloves, etc. should be used. And triage cards are not always useful. No triage in the form of color card or similar was applied, neither at the incident site nor at the AMPs, despite the fact that the equipment for this was available. This was because it was felt that the severity of the injuries was so easily identified that no categorization system was called for. Next one, please. We also learned that in unstable sites, quick rescue and removal of victims is the right thing to do instead of on-site stabilization. Victims should be classified according to severity of injuries in grouping areas. Later, we have implemented a system with color flags. Disaster backpack for first emergency medical care should be available in all vehicles. That's one thing what we did not have at this time. And the integration of civil protection under SAMUR training and procedures provides value add to the response capacity. Next, please. So from 2004 till now, the concept of emergency management has evolved. Now specific training in MCI is mandatory for all paid staff and volunteers in SAMUR once a year, including CRBN training sessions. Next one. Next. Specific training in MCI management is also mandatory for SAMUR responsibles. Next. And at least 30 training exercise per year, including a big one with more than 500 participants from EMS all over the country. Personal protective equipment is now available for all SAMUR staff, including anti-fragment vest, protective breathing equipment, CRBN protective suits, detector of toxic airborne threats, etc. Next one. We have also a hazmat vehicle on duty around the clock with a decontamination line up to 12 people and suits of all levels for protection. Next, please. And after the attack, this attack in 2004, a new MCI incident protocol was developed in SAMUR, easier and adapted to new scenarios. Based in assigned roles and specific functions with chronologically ordered steps and identification means for commanders, for SAMUR commanders. And to address the lack of coordination between security forces in Madrid, a complex incident protocol has been developed aimed to respond to incidents in which SAMUR, police and fire department are involved. A command and coordination post is established on the scene, and it is the place where commanders from the three services take decisions. Next. And a new triage protocol has been developed based on bipolar triage in 3 steps. The first triage in the area of the rescue, performed by an EMT, separate alive victims from the dead. The second triage in the area of first medical care, is performed by a physician or a nurse and separate critical and serious victim from the minor. And the third triage in the advanced medical post is performed by a physician, separate patient requiring urgent transfer for surgery from those requiring stabilization and transfer and delayed transfer to the hospital. Next. We also have developed a new procedure of hemorrhagic shock based on damage control resuscitation and new material to address such procedure and not used before. Has been included in our ambulance like a tourniquet, Israeli bandages, hemostatic agents, and Islamic acid, and this procedure has to be applied in patients with specific metabolic and hemodynamic criteria, and all physicians and nurses have training on it. Next one. And basic combat training is now mandatory for SAMUR staff. It is provided by instructors from the Army Medical Services with experience in foreign missions. And the last one, I think, the conclusions. As a conclusion, well, in Western Europe, we are experiencing a new way of our deliberate attacks, in which fear is used as a psychological weapon. And the objective is to spread chaos and terror among civil population. And emergency medical services need to be prepared for that. In our opinion, the classical model of the emergency medical services before 2004 needed to be changed from a complex triage to a simplified one, which is rigid protocols to a quick decision-making model, field hospital of EMP on a scene to a damage control and scoop and run model, a stay and play model with many medical staff on a scene to a fast evacuation of the scenario. This new model also requires EMS hospital and citizen preparedness to respond to a MCI related to deliberate attacks. And this is, I think, I have tried to stick to the time. I hope.
Thank you, Paloma. Thank you very much. Thank you first for the transparency and for speaking about this huge incident and the response that SAMUR and also yourself were involved in. I think it's interesting, and this is one of the goals and one of the reasons why we have this project to share knowledge, hopefully only on past events and not new events, but this is why we're here, and thank you very much for this presentation. And I would like now to give the floor back to Lisa to close the webinar.
Thank you very much also from the project lead side for all the different speakers, and also many thanks for all of you joining us during this first webinar. I hope, even if there was a heartbreak in the topic between EMS to the bombing in Madrid and the Bataclan experience from France, you still enjoyed this session. And anyway, I think we had our first lessons observed already during this first webinar, and we will work hard to improve it for the next one. Yes, nevertheless, we would be happy to receive your feedback. Therefore, we have prepared a feedback form, but actually we need to send it after this webinar in the coming days. So if you have a feedback for us, what we can improve, please let us know. And to give a few closing words at the end, I hope that you recognize that EMS is working very differently in the EU countries and also beyond the EU. This is exactly why we need to talk about important topics in the field of EMS. In fact, together, as due to their different organization, EMS providers from different countries have different approaches so that we can learn from each other. And this is exactly what KnowEMS is is for. Also, many thanks to Katarina and Paloma, who were so kind to share their experience on very special deployment areas of the EMS. It was very impressive. I hope all of you had the chance to gain some small insights here. And if you're interested in joining more of our webinars, please feel free to contact us via the general email address that you can see here. It is knowems@mda.org.el, or by having a look on our outcomes that will be published on the official websites of the project partners, as well as on the website of the Knowledge Network. So just type in EU Knowledge Network and then KnowEMS, and you will find us. Currently, it's very empty, but we will start filling it with the knowledge gained from this webinar and the coming ones. We will also come up with a LinkedIn account, which you can follow very soon. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining the meeting. It was a pleasure to have you here, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.